Last July, at the 2026 ASYAAF 100 exhibition in Gwanghwamun, Seoul, visitors were invited to make their own judgments. They voted for the works they liked, without knowing the artists' names or having access to other information about them. Those votes were subsequently reflected in awards and in decisions over who would be invited to future exhibitions. When did art become something special? Artworks that place greater importance on an artist's ideas and expression than on making money are called fine art. In contrast, art created with sales or popularity in mind is called commercial art. There is also a distinction between high culture, such as fine art, and classical music, which is often considered something people need to study in order to fully appreciate, and popular culture, such as movies and popular music, which many people can easily enjoy. But this distinction has not always existed. Before the 18th century, European painters regularly produced works commissioned by kings, nobles, and churches. They saw no reason to regard payment as diminishing their art. Being commissioned and being paid did not make a painting less valuable or meaningful. Later, as people began to distinguish art from everyday objects, the idea that beauty was more important than usefulness or profit became more widespread. This led to the distinction between fine art and commercial art. The development and division of art. During the 17th and 18th centuries, European cities grew and trade became more active. Not only kings and nobles, but also wealthy citizens began buying paintings and enjoying performances. As a result, artists no longer had to wait only for commissions. They could create works and sell them on their own, giving them more opportunities to decide what they wanted to make. From the late 18th century, artworks owned by kings and nobles began to be displayed in museums. The idea also spread that people needed to understand the history of art and learn how to appreciate it in order to properly understand its value. As a result, art came to be regarded as high culture, that people needed to learn about in order to enjoy. Industrialization and urbanization in the 19th century increased the number of people who could enjoy culture. In the 20th century, records, movies, and radio made it possible for huge numbers of people to enjoy the same works at the same time. As more artworks and cultural products were sold, their commercial value became increasingly important. Movies and popular music, in particular, became more successful as more people watched or listened to them, giving audiences greater influence. This type of culture came to be called popular culture. Yet the line between high culture and popular culture gradually blurred. Movies increasingly came to be regarded as an important art form, while pop art brought advertisements, comics, and other elements of popular culture into museums and galleries, challenging established assumptions about what properly belonged within art. When visitors get a say in contemporary art. The history of art puts ASYAAF 100's blind exhibition in a different light. For much of that history, experts determined which works were worthy, leaving visitors to observe and appreciate. At ASYAAF, by contrast, visitors' choices could help determine awards and future exhibition opportunities. Of course, an artwork chosen by many people is not necessarily always better. Votes may become concentrated on familiar or easy-to-understand works. On the other hand, relying only on experts may make it difficult for new and unfamiliar works to challenge existing standards. The ASYAAF experiment encourages us not simply to ask who is better at choosing art, but to think again about what standards we should use to decide what makes good art.